Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, one of the advantages of being a freshman is that I get to listen to all my colleagues and get butt in front of about 30 times before it's actually my turn. But thank you for your testimony and for your service to our country. My questions are kind of open-ended, and the one thing that I am concerned about is you made the statement that we've only been here for a few months, and that the President has ordered the closure of Guantanamo Bay within 8 months. Where are we exactly? And I know that you've talked about possibly Article III courts, possibly military courts. Where are we with regard to criminal procedure? And by the way, I want to thank you for offering that you would work with Congress to help you with any of these procedures, and I want to express my willingness to help as we move forward. But where exactly are we? Because time is 8 months is not that long, and when you're talking about 241 people that need to be moved by that closure, where exactly are we with regard to procedure?
Well, we're moving along with regard to those reviews. I don't have the precise number that we have completed at this point, but I think we're on track to have this done within the time frame that the President has given to us. But he's also given us an indication that to the extent we need more people to do the job that he has given, he set out before us, that we have that ability. So that we have about 80 lawyers now, 80 people, I guess, altogether, who are involved in this process with regard to the detention review process. But if we need to put more people on it, we're prepared to do that.
When that is established and we're moving forward, whatever that procedure may be, will you assume or speculate today that standard, whatever criminal procedure we use there, will be the same standard? I'm just trying to get some kind of response that there won't be this sort of haze or fog about where we are when we move forward. If there's detainees taken off the battlefield, that we pose a threat in Afghanistan or wherever, and they're not taken to GITMO, wherever they're used, what due process are they going to get? Is it going to be this same due process, or do you foresee that this is sort of a fluid?
No, that's actually an excellent question, and one of the things that the President anticipated in forming that detention review committee task force, one of the things they're charged with doing is coming up with what are the standards going to be for people who are detained going forward, be it in Iraq, Afghanistan, other places. How are we going to deal with those people? How are they going to be detained? What are the appropriate ways in which we should interact with them? And so that task force has a responsibility of reporting back in July. But that is something that, as I said, I think that's an excellent question, and one that has caused the formation of a separate task force.
Okay. And finally, I was down in Guantanamo Bay recently, as have you been, and one of the things that kind of dawned on me as we were driving around there was that there's actually still building there. There's still dollars appropriated, and you saw the facility and what it's capable of, and I understand what your argument is about the recruitment tool and the stigma that Guantanamo Bay, Cuba has psychologically worldwide. And I'm not going to debate on that. But one of the things that kind of dawned on me is one of the reasons for the stigma is possibly that, as the gentleman from the other side of the aisle pointed out, that they're detained indefinitely, I believe, as he was inferring, without due process. Assuming they do go through the due process in the next year, inevitably some of them are going to be found guilty or need continued detainment. Is there any consideration given to the possibility of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, being reopened as a prison? I think that there's one person down there that's actually considered a prisoner out of the 241. Is there any consideration to Guantanamo Bay as a prison after due process, or is that stigma so, crippling that is not even in the cards either?
That is not something that has been discussed. I think that all the negatives that are attached to Guantanamo, inconsistent, I think, kind of with the Guantanamo that now exists. I think that stigma, as you put it, probably will still be attached to the facility. But as I said, we have not discussed the possibility of a continuing role for Guantanamo after January of next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I recognize Mr. Sherman from California, the Golden State.
Thank you. 5.5 hours of talking about GITMO under the lights in this building, in this room, strike me as well beyond what the Army Field Manual would allow. And so I'm going to ask you questions on a completely different subject. And that is the subject of what your relationship with the other departments of the federal government